say the temperature variation was around the Bay Area today, between 60 and 90?
Yes, 63 to 95.
Well, 63 here in the marina, it's always cold. That's probably because I'm cold-hearted and I'm right here in the middle. And 95 inland.
Right.
Well, that's normal. That's not that unusual for August.
No.
Welcome.
Not, but it's crazy.
Hola, hola, Larry Kennedy says hola from the FIDI.
Hola.
The financial, hola, the H is not pronounced in Spanish, as you know.
Hola.
Mark set bot been poking the, yeah, it's not going to end well. Peter Taylor in New York City. Greg Phillips on the Gold Coast of Oz. Schaefer's checking in. Captain Jack from Annapolis. Pedro Foiling Sailor was the first one on today, Julie. He greeted us before we even got on the air.
I know, and I want to know which wilderness around Sydney.
And my co-host is Julia Vedekind of the St. Francis Yacht Club here, and I'm your host, Tom Eamon of the Balboa Yacht Club. We're both of the Beach Street Yacht Club.
Yes.
The Fort Worth Boat Club for me, the Stad Yacht Club in Switzerland.
Yes.
Portage Yacht Club in Michigan.
You are famous.
I'm not. I'm just a simple country boy from Michigan. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. We're to the starting line here, and we'll get moving smartly. I don't know how smart we'll be, smartly forward. For show number 940, there's a blue thing on my glasses.
Yeah, there is.
That's Croutonic. 946. Welcome. That's our 10th year of Yacht Racing News, Views, and Notables. We appreciate your coming along for today's ride. Julia, what are we celebrating
Looks
today?
Like vineyards.
What kind of vineyards?
Well, grape vineyards, but I don't know what kind of grapes. They're too blue for.
You want the answer?
Yes.
Anybody in the chat have it? Ed Worley, no. Jared DeYoung, no. It is National Pinot Noir Day, Julia. In fact, it turns out to be World Pinot Noir Day. It's celebrated in many countries besides the U.S. of A. And as you know, when I was drinking, it was my favorite wine. Pinot Noir Day is a special day on August 18th every year. On this day, wine lovers and connoisseurs come together to appreciate one of the most cherished wines in the world. Pinot Noir has a deep history tracing back to the Burgundy region of France. As early as the 1st century, it was so valued that it became the preferred, I didn't know this, preferred grape for the Catholic Church, playing a significant role in religious ceremonies. The French Revolution marked a pivotal moment, democratizing access to this exquisite wine beyond the aristocracy. Today, despite its challenging cultivation, Pinot Noir continues to be among the favorite wines in the world, as Commodore Harrington is calling it, the peanut of the night.
Yes.
Jon Emmett's driving across from somewhere, presumably in the south of England. Ministry of Sailing Captain Jack is saying it's not celebrated in Saudi Arabia. Well, that's probably true. And here, Julia,
yes,
is I think the best location, the best producer of Pinot Noir is in Central Otago. In fact, my favorite wine when we were there for the 2000 Cup and the 03 Cup was Roaring Meg. Meg always liked that.
Yes.
Daughter Meg. Roaring Meg, which is produced in Central Otago along with others. Today we have a video from the Gibston Valley, also called the Valley of the Vines. It's a famous wine growing area in Central Otago and NZ, as you all would call it, NZL as I write it. It sits about a 25-minute drive from Queenstown, the South Island. The area is known for award-winning Pinot Noir, scenic bike trails, and stunning mountain and river views.
I love wine for all the different feelings it evokes, all the different moods, times, and people you can share it with. It's got heart, soul, and character. Pinot Noir it's a poem in a glass, really. It's a deep, really moving grape variety that makes wines of such vivid splendor that it's really is an emotional thing to talk about and make. And it's just lovely to share that glass, which encapsulates such a breadth of experience and so many people. And to think all of that can just be captured in this one magical liquid is just marvelous.
This magical liquid.
Yes.
Yes. You don't like wine, or it doesn't agree with your stomach, or what?
I gave up drinking it.
A long time ago.
Yes, 5 years ago, maybe.
Well, I tried to get Hamish Ross because, for better or worse, Hamish and he introduced me to Kiwi Pinot Noirs when we were down there for the 2000 Cup and the 03 Cup. And I said, Hamish, why don't you send a little vignette either on the camera, put your iPhone on, or write us something that talks about the great decisions he and I made, or the controversies we created over a glass or three of good Central Otago Pinot Noir.
Yes.
I didn't hear back from him. So, Hamish, if you're watching here in the chat,
He didn't remember.
you're a crouton.
He doesn't remember.
And then I said, well, to Richard Gladwell last night, I said, Richard, why don't you send something? Because I know he quit drinking 3 or 4 years ago himself. And he said, well, if I remembered, I can't remember anymore. So if I can't remember anything. So that was the end of our Kiwi lack of Kiwi response.
Napa Valley stuff about.
Oh, but Central Otago. A veteran's Black Ops retreat, Julia. That's where Peter Stevenson says he is.
Oh.
Pedro, foiling sailor.
That's great.
Today's show, we're celebrating Martin Wrigley, and I'm told it's Bettine. Mr. Doctor, Andrew McIrvin, Mr. Doctor said, pronounce it like between without the W. I didn't know it was Bettina or Bettine. I didn't think it was that. Bettine Harris from Great Britain, they won the 470 Worlds in Japan in the past couple of days. Germany was second. And Julia, your favorite team?
Yes.
From Spain, including Jordi Xammar, were third. So we'll talk about all that in a minute, but let's do a Bravo Zulu here at the top of the show. Well done in praise of performance, and we covered this on Friday's show. That is the 50th. It's a centennial, not the centennial. What do you call it? Bicentennial? What's the 50th? Well, it's the 50th round Britain and Ireland race 2020.
Semi-centennial.
Semi-centennial. 1,805 nautical miles. And it's, as I said, this is the 50th edition. The RORC runs it. And Pace, as we were telling you on Friday, was taking it looked like they were going to pace the rest of the fleet or outpace them. And they have indeed taken line honors in the past couple of days in Rourke's Round Britain and Ireland race 2026. Finishing last night or Sunday night, isn't that off the Royal Yacht Squadron's finish line off the clubhouse there? Johnny Vincent's Volvo 70 Pace that we've been talking about crossed the Royal Yacht Squadron finish line in Cowes at 04:17 BST on Sunday the 16th, so a couple days ago. Taking monohull line honors in the 2026 Rourke Round Britain and Ireland race. Her elapsed time for the 1,800 plus nautical mile course was 6 days, 14 hours, 47 minutes, and 31 seconds. The Yellow Brick Tracker, the YB Tracker, recorded 2,113 nautical miles, close to the shortest route, save for 2 deviations after Blackrock and in the northern North Sea. The great acceleration came off the west coast of Ireland and towards
Muckleflugge.
Muckleflugge. I put that in there just so we could pronounce it. Where the 1K design exploited the conditions that suited her. Vincent recalled a 486 nautical mile run in 24 hours and boat speeds of 26 to 27 knots.
Wow.
Now, there he is. This is the skipper, Johnny. He said it is wonderful to achieve line honors. The boat is really built for an adventure like this, and at times we were doing amazing speed, and that is a wonderful feeling. It has been an immense learning curve for me personally. The longest trip I had ever done offshore was Gibraltar to Southampton, which is 1,300 or 1,400 miles. I have done the Middle Sea Race, the Caribbean 600, and the Fastnet, but this was 3 times the distance and 3 times the effort.
I believe that.
So bravo Zulu to his team. And he had a nice lunch. They celebrated at the Hoerr Clubhouse there in Coutts. Vincent's strongest words were reserved for the team and the preparation that allowed them to push pace, their yacht, without a major gear failure. Quote, the spirit on the boat was extraordinary. There was not one moment when heads went down. The banter could be hilarious. And when the breeze changed, everybody instantly changed gear. So important in all yacht racing and boats, large and small. Now, this is the quote I really love, the quote. For somebody who is not a professional sailor to be told, you can step up and drive, Johnny. We have got your back, but get on with it. That was amazing. I feel very humbled that these people wanted to spend their time with me. What a great sentiment from an owner of Volvo of a VO70 who's just won a big race, and he was obviously having the time of his life, and this is what we want in our beloved sport. Julia, the boat we were also talking about, Varuna 6, crossed the Royal Yacht Squadron finish line in Coutts yesterday at 13:37. Her elapsed time was 8 days, 7 minutes, and 19 seconds. After IRC time correction, Varuna 6 did not better the time set by Johnny Vincent's Volvo 70, the VO70 pace. There is the rest of the fleet. Actually, 6 or maybe now 7 boats have finished. The 7 boat was slated to finish just about now. You can see they're spread out. Some haven't even gone around. This was from a couple hours ago. Around Muckle Fuggle MF.
Yeah.
And that's where they are. You can see coming down the shore, the eastern shore, the east side of Britain and Ireland and Scotland. It's just a fabulous event with a lot of boats and a big turnout in a Admiral's Cup year. Pace, Varuna 6, Palanat 4, Penfret, Swift, and Gambit. And as you can see over here in the corrected elapsed times, it's pretty hard in the fine print perhaps, but it looks like Pace is on pace to win uncorrected as well among everybody. So they've had quite a good race. We talked also a little bit the other day about this team, this father-daughter of Richard and Emma Breeze, sailing their J105 Mojo, and they're still up, but they've just rounded the top there, and they are, as you can see, locked in a battle with 3 other boats, and I think they're all in the same class. I think that's IRC 3, and Mojo is in 3rd place of the 4, and here's a video that they recorded yesterday before they rounded.
So we're currently 4.3 miles from Muckleflagger. We've made some pretty good gains tonight, which we were pleased with. Yesterday there was a pretty big wind hole, sort of in the middle of the ports, and we...
Normally, you'd sail into that based on past performance.
Yes. However, this time we decided to switch things up, and we sort of studied the forecast, and they were all saying completely different to what was happening right now. But then we noticed that they were all saying that it would fill in from the north first later on. So we're like, oh, okay, maybe we should head north. And that's what we did. And we got the wind first, or sort of first in our little pack. And we caught up with Astrid, Xammar, and Philip, which we're happy with. Back in the game.
Yeah.
That's start the most northern part, of course. How do you feel?
Good, yeah. We were late, but now we're going to
A little hard to hear what they were saying. That audio was not correct. That's a lesson for all of us. Don't try to hold she's obviously holding her iPhone out there to the left of her, I guess, and that means the mic's away from her mouth. But nonetheless, father-daughter having, I'm sure, the time of their life.
Oh,
This
yes.
is not the first time at a rodeo, a big offshore race like this. I think they sailed in the Fastnet last year. Chris Fury's checking in from Melbourne. And today is his wife's 60th birthday. That is Vice Commodore, or maybe Commodore by now. She's soon to be Commodore of the Sandringham Yacht Club, that prestigious club in Melbourne.
Mm-hmm.
And Ted Ryman checking in from the Republic of South Africa, RSA, the Cape Town, and George Van wishing a happy birthday. George, nice to see you on as well as we move forward here into our next segment, which is another Brit. It's Jon Emmett's regular report, the Coaching Corner with Super Fozy Jon Emmett. And here is his video for today.
Hi Tom, Julia and all the Fozy. In today's Jon Emmett's Coaching Corner, we're going to answer that age-old question, are sailors athletes? Now, of course, it's very important what we call ourselves. As a coach, I'm keen to encourage people to work hard and therefore call them hard workers. If you called somebody lazy, you're likely to get that effect because that inner monologue and also what we're told has a profound impact on us. And I think one of the perceptions of sailing is we need to show that it is physically demanding. In other words, you need to be fit for sailing. I've talked about fitness a lot, and fitness varies. Fitness for hockey, fitness for a basketball player, fitness for sumo wrestler, all very different, and those athletes look very different. But in my mind, we're all athletes, and it's important to think, if you look at something like the Fing dinghy, it's incredibly physically demanding. Now, the demands in terms of strength or endurance or aerobic capacity will vary class to class. I'd say you can't be too flexible as long as you've got strength in the joints, and you can't be too strong, but you can be too heavy, you can be too light, or even too tall or too short for a given class. But in my mind, we're definitely athletes. But I do understand that we need to differentiate ourselves, and I understand sort of the old school thinking about ourselves as sailors. And sailing comes in many forms, and I've said, and the opinions are just my own, that sailing for me is anything involving the wind. My Ilka 6 campaigners would regularly want to go winging after sailing. I know that most of the 49er fleet seem to have a moth, switch or some other type of boat like that. Sometimes a change is as good as a rest, and doing different types of sailing is very important. And for those people who are thinking about going into big boats later on, it's probably better to start sooner rather than later so you can build up that network of connections. So when you finish your dinghy sailing, whether that's Olympic sailing or not, you can step straight onto the big boat, because sailing skills are very transferable, but it takes time. But having said all this, I do understand why we want to call ourselves sailors. In fact, during the pandemic, I tried to make it clear that I think we're all sailors, and I think having little cliques of sailing doesn't do anybody any good. Now, there's something out there for everybody. If you like slow boats, tactical racing, huge crews, sails that go up and down, that's one thing. If you want to watch a technology race, that's another thing. If you want massive fleets racing, that's another thing. And for those less physically able, the Paralympics is a very important goal for us to have. And we don't even really talk that much about land sailing, land yachting, radio-controlled sailing, but it's all enjoying the wind, and it's all making the most of those fundamental things. So having a good lane, sailing the minimum distance to the next mark at maximum hull speed, and possibly most importantly, not hitting anything. But titles are important, and I think it's good now we generally use the word sailing rather than yachting, because the implications, you have to have a lot of money and you just sit on a yacht and drink G&T is probably not helpful to encouraging young people to try sailing. I actually think winging and that younger generation probably translates very easily. And when I look at Castle Cove, I see we will have people who are wing or IQ foil one day and they're sailor 420 or fever the next. The one thing we've tried to do at Castle Cove Cadets is restrict, I know that's not quite the right word, but promote a few classes so we have everybody racing against everybody in one design as much as we can. When I grew up, it was toppers, lasers as they were then, fireballs, enterprises, mirrors, and then there was probably a small handicap group. In the UK, we have a lot more handicap racing, and I think personally I'm a bit of a purist. But let's face it, whatever class of boat you're sailing, being fitter is better, Mentally, if you're aerobically fit, you will recover and have better decision making. And as I said, you cannot be too fit. And nearly every class I can think of, as soon as it gets above 10 knots, probably the harder you work, the faster you'll go. In fact, for windsurfing and pumping classes with free pumping, even the light winds, or perhaps especially the light winds, can be incredibly hard work. So in my mind, there's no doubt that sailors are athletes, but the terminology we use, we need to just think what's best to promote our beloved sport. With that in mind, if you have the opportunity, please do share this content and sail fast, sail safe, and keep having fun.
Nice. He's got the most amazing blue eyes. doesn't
I know.
he?
And the perfect camera smile, too.
He does. I was going to superimpose some stickers on his wall. I did that a few weeks ago.
Right.
When he filmed there, presumably at his home in, I don't know where that is, if that's in Weymouth or someplace. So I was going to put some Gillette razor shaving stickers. He obviously hasn't shaved for a few years. Thierry de Jong agrees with John. And John is adding, he said, and every weekend there is something going on. It's a good point. Nice to see Mary Longprion as well, who knows the Furies from all of her sojourn, all of her time in Australia. Fritz Mueller checking in from Miami. John says it's all in the color grading, which is a whole nother issue. But I do agree with John on a number of his points. I wonder, Julia, if we were better off as a sport when we called ourselves yacht racing. I mean, equestrian still calls themselves equestrian, not horse riding. Well,
I know.
Serious. And I wonder if we've lost sponsorship and interest and so on because we're now sailing instead of yacht racing. If the Olympics would have thought more highly of us if we were yacht racing. Yes, it does sound a little snooty, especially here in the States, more so than most places.
Yeah.
The Dutch word yacht means small pleasure craft, small recreational vehicle, boat. So I don't get it. But I do think John covered both sides of the issue about sailors versus athletes. And this discussion keeps coming up because Russell Coutts and the SailGP folks keep calling it and them athletes. We got to stress that they're athletes. World sailing, they're athletes. Well, okay, I think it's implicit that if you're a racing sailor, you're an athlete. And maybe outside the sport, people don't realize that. So you need to keep saying athletes, but we should be at least juxtaposing or intertwining sailor with athlete. We're sailors, we're athletes, yes, of course.
Yes.
But when I play hockey, ice hockey, I don't say, hey, I'm a skater. I'm an athlete or a skater. I said, I'm a hockey player, ice hockey player.
Yeah.
If you're talking to somebody outside the country.
Yeah.
You don't say I'm an athlete, even though the best athletes in the world are probably the NBA, the basketball players. They're just amazing athletes. Track and field guys and gals.
Yeah.
They call themselves athletics, not track and field, which is what we use here. Sounds kind of cryptonic. I don't know. For me, it's sailing and yacht racing, but to each his own, right?
Yes.
In our beloved sport, as John calls it, and I like to call it. Thank you, Jon Emmett, for the coaching corner today. Jon Emmett Sailing. Get to the front of the fleet. We always like to end John's report with this note about Brisbane 2032. We're going to talk more about Brisbane in a moment. But way back in January last year, 2025, John came on the show and a number of others, and we've been pushing ever since then to get sailing back in the Paralympics. And you can help by talking to your national federation, National Sailing Federation, or your National Yacht Racing Federation, talking to your National Olympic Committee, getting people, Paralympic athletes, sailors, out to regattas, helping fund them to international events so that we keep getting our numbers up and up to prove to the IOC, and more importantly, the IPC, the International Paralympic Committee, that we deserve to be back in the Paralympics as a sport, whether it's a demonstration event in 2032 or full-time thereafter. So that's Jon Emmett, and thank you for all of that, everybody.
I like this. Ed Worley says, to paraphrase, as a man's home is his castle, every sailor, their boat is a yacht.
Well, that's the way I look at it. John says, we all know you're an athlete, Tom. I don't know about that, John. I used to be anyway, but I'm a hockey player and I'm a sailor and proud of it. Speaking of sailors, these two had an amazing performance and another feather in the cap of the British sailing team of the GBR. Wrigley and Hoerr were crowned the 470 sailing world champions in Enoshima a couple of days ago. Just the beautiful photos that came out of that event, which is of course where they held the 2020/21, the pandemically delayed. Is that a word? Pandemically postponed. How's that, Julie? That's alliteration.
Yeah.
The pandemically postponed Olympic sailing regatta they're at the foot of Mount Fuji.
Wow.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yes.
It's a beautiful spot, and that's where the 2026 470 Worlds were held, and it has now come to an end as of a couple days ago. British sailors Martin Wrigley and Bettine Harris claimed the World Championship title after two very demanding medal races on the final day. We'll talk about that too. That's a departure from what has become the norm. The silver medal went to the German team of Theresa Löffler and Christopher Hoerr, while the Spanish team of Jordi Xammar and Marta Cardona took bronze. And I stuck this picture in just because I liked it. Not for anything other than that, just a great shot. I believe that is the finals, the final 10 boats, one of those two medal races. Not 100% sure, but I don't count more than 10 boats in that shot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe a boat or two hidden. But it's a new format that we'll talk about. But bravo Zulu to these two. They, heading into the medal races, they had a pretty good lead. You count the scores from the qualifying races. Wrigley and Harris held a narrow 8-point lead over defending champions and longtime rivals Jordi Xammar and Marta Cardona. Their advantage was cut after a 7th place finish in the first of those two medal races, where you count, the races don't count for double anymore. They count, if you get a first, you get 1 point, slow point scoring. If you get a 7th, you get 7 points. So they closed things up when they got a 7th out of 10 in that first medal race. Their advantage was cut after that 7th place. However, the British duo put on a clinic in the light wind to win the final race and claim the overall title. Runners up from Germany, as we mentioned, they on the second lap of the last race, the second medal race, the German team of Theresa and Christopher moved into second place, while the Spanish team was in 9th and the Japanese team in 10th in that final medal race. This point situation meant the German team eventually secured the silver medal. Now, Julia, this will make your heart flutter.
Yes.
Because there's another handsome Spanish team, man and woman, Spanish duo of Jordi Xammar and Marta Cardona, the defending 2025 world champions in the 470 class, claimed the bronze medal. Jordi is the skipper in 470 history, the only skipper to achieve 8 consecutive World Championship podiums.
Wow.
2018 to 2026. It's a magnificent achievement.
Incredible.
It was it was a very difficult day, as all week, but I think we need to be proud. It's very hard to get a medal in a World Championship, and obviously you always want to win, but I think it's also important to value how hard it is to get a medal in the Worlds. So to be honest, we are very happy. Obviously, the hard work continues as they head toward LA 28 as well. Now, good piece of news. I told you on Friday's show that 75 teams from, I can't remember, 20 some odd countries. That is by far the largest number of 470s to show up at their Worlds in the mixed gender, the co-ed era. Because remember, they used to have a men's 470 and a women's 470.
Right.
And a lot of people still think that was a mistake to go away from that because you had a lot more boats participating in each. But this time they managed to get 75 boats in Enoshima in Japan, which is the high water mark.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's talk about their format, because the class, and I gather this is from the class, not from World Sailing. The class decided to try something new in how they score and do the medal races. You heard me mention a moment ago,
Right.
2 medal races. I spent way too much time this morning having to research this because it was not clear in any of the publicity. And I asked Richard Gladwell and others, and they had some advice and help, John, and so forth. But ChatGPT came through with, I think, what is the accurate info here. The new 470 format sends the top 10 into 2 medal races. Top 10 out of the qualifying races, the fleet races before that.
Mm-hmm.
Their fleet racing scores carry forward, but if necessary, they're compressed so that the point spread from 3rd through 10th of those 10 boats that go through to the
Mhm.
medal races is no greater than 18 points. Now, that's the first I'd heard of that. And so that means you
What
take
does that mean?
10 teams out
Yeah.
of the qualifying races, you move them into the medal races,
Yeah.
and basically you push the bottom teams up in score until they are no greater than 18 points behind the 3rd place boat. Forget about 2nd and 1st.
Yeah.
Now, maybe that's a good idea, but it's so damn confusing, and how anyone can understand that and how the general public is going to react. Well, you compress the scores because why? To keep it close? I mean, Julia.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know about that. So there are the 10 teams coming out of the qualifying races going into these, not 1, but 2 medal races. Wrigley and Harris, who ultimately won on 35, but Jordi Xammar and his crew were on 43 and then slipped to 3rd. The Japanese slipped down. The Germans climbed from 4th up to 2nd. And how they did that was to have 2 good races in the medal races. And the medal races did not count double as they have in the past. You'd sail the qualifying races, then you'd sail 1 medal race, and it would count double.
Mhm.
So that has gone away. Instead, you have 2 medal races, counting 1 point for first, 10 points for second, 10 points for second. And that's how you now score, at least on a trial basis.
Why are they making it so complicated?
Oh, well, I'm glad you asked. I have no frigging idea. This is an experiment. They're trying to do something different. I think they're trying to impress ISAF, World Sailing, whatever they're called now. So there is the final standing. It's a little hard to tell on the fine print, but if you go over here and look at medal, the final race they call it, medal race 1 and medal race 2, you can see that the Brits had a 7-1, the Germans had a 4-2 to climb up to 2nd,
Mhm.
and the Spanish had a 5-9. So they had a disappointing day, as did the Japanese,
Mhm.
who were in the hunt, and they slipped all the way down to 4th with a 1st and a 10th. So I don't know about all this. Blake Sale is saying a new Croutonic scoring system, because why not make yet another double confusing option?
Yeah.
Clark Chapin up above that saying, gee, do you take the square root of the score and then multiply by the cosine of the age of the 3rd place skipper?
Of course.
Clark saying again there at the bottom, it would seem to me that the aim was to give even the 10th place boat a chance to win if they ace the 2 medal races. Well, I think that's right, Clark. But what's the point of having all these qualifying races is something we've all said on here. Not all,
Yeah.
but almost all of you have said in the past. And as Julia just said, it is so bloody confusing. How do you explain that? Well, you take the 10 boats, move them forward to the 2 medal races,
Yeah.
final races, because they're no longer a medal race, a winner-take-all medal race,
Mhm.
which I think is good, by the way.
Yeah.
And you compress their scores so they're close. Give me a break. Tell me if I'm wrong. Am I correct or Croutonic? If I'm Croutonic, let's see it in the chat. I'd love to see it. So that's the 470. That's the 470 way of running experimentally their worlds this time. We'll see if they do it again.
The important thing is, are they happy with it?
Well, it's not just if they're happy with it, and that's the point, is that sailing is trying to remain in the Olympics. And I'm going to play an interview with Russell Coutts here that aired yesterday on the Foil in a minute. And we've all been talking about sailing. Are we going to get flicked from the Olympics because our television numbers are low? We're a relatively expensive sport. The redeeming value is that we have a lot of countries participated in yacht racing, in sailing, whether it's the Nordic countries, the Caribbean countries, South America, Oceania, a lot of countries. So there's something, and we've been in every Olympic since the first one, except for the we were in 1896. We weren't in 1900 when they were in St. Louis because there was no water. Meet me in St. Louis, meet me at the fair. That was about the same time, that big World's Fair. Ed Worley's asking, have they disclosed why they check? Well, they're trying to find a better system than that single winner-take-all medal race, because in that case, you can have a good series and have sailed consistently over different weather conditions, different sea conditions over the course of the week. And then you're up in the top 10, you have a bad start, you have a bad foul, and you go from first, maybe by a lot of points, because that last race counts double, and you end up in second or third or fourth or worse. And I think there's a lot of angst about these winner-take-all medal races. Or that's not that. What I just described is double points medal races added to your previous scores. But you look at what SailGP does and what some people advocate, including Russell Coutts, go into that final race like the final 100-yard dash, and winner takes all. The difference is that in our sport, you're battling again the seas and the wind conditions, and the conditions change. And I don't like having too many throwouts. You already have a throwout. Sail 7 races, and whoever wins wins. In fact, maybe sail 7 races and not have a throwout, the way it used to be. Chris is saying, Chris Fury, in the end, the best sailors won. I hope that is right. I think that is right, Chris, but you never know. And I suppose we should be saying bravo Zulu to the 470 class for trying this.
Yes, I agree with that.
And whether or not World Sailing agrees with it. But my reaction is the same as yours, Julia. It's just too bloody confusing.
I'm in favor of the double round robin, which you can't do in this kind of thing.
Well, match racing, you only do round robins in match racing where you're going one boat against one boat, but we'll talk about that some more. I agree, but more racing is better. Let's just do more fleet races and count them all. And the top team's going to come out in the wash, as they say. Do we say that only here in the U.S.? Or?
I don't know.
The top team will come out, so that's what's going on.
Yeah.
Correct or Croutonic, 2 medal races, 2 final races. I don't know. What do you think? Well, regardless, bravo Zulu to them. I think Chris Fury's probably right. The 2 best won. Bravo Zulu to the Brits, who are again seem to be having quite a good Olympic season in these various events that are going on.
I admire the British sponsorship.
Well, they've got their national lottery that money goes.
I know. That's great.
And it does. It helps all the sports. Dogzilla Monster, even in SailGP, the 4-boat finals, the top 3 winners get hundreds of dollars, maybe thousands of dollars. Well, that's true too. A little bit different system. Okay, now back on this topic of format and classes, because this is now the season at World Sailing for deciding what will be the classes. And when we say classes, it's the events.
Yep.
They start out by saying, well, we want a double-handed dinghy, without talking about the 470 class. Then they talk about mixed gender or equal men's division and a women's. So it's all those things, but at the end of the day, it's what class are they going to select to put in the Olympics? And they make it so complicated because they're trying to impress the IOC, because that's the language the IOC uses. Now, Julia, you went to Stanford, so I should have sent this document to you. But in the last few days, the joint working group of the Events Committee and the Equipment Committee of World Sailing have come up with a recommendation for what the events should be in the next Olympics under their regulation, World Sailing's Regulation 11.5. This paper goes on for 64 pages. Up and down, left and right. It came up with 5 different options they said, here are 5 different options of various mixes of classes and events, and it's mind-numbing. It's 64 pages of mind-numbing, bureaucratic, cover your ass bullshit. Excuse my language, BS. CYABS. I should stick to reading that. But I last night in the Super Fozzy chat, we were talking about this, and Luca Devoti and Jon Emmett and Richard Gladwell and others were trying to explain to me what this thing said because nobody could understand it. So guess what I did this morning, Julia? I took the whole document and put it into ChatGPT.
I was going to say you put it in chat.
And you know what? In 10 seconds, it came back with what I think are the salient points. So here we go, using AI again on this show. But I honestly, I read through it twice.
Yeah.
And it was so thick with justifications and counter justifications and up, down, left, right.
Yeah.
It was mind-numbing bureaucratic BS.
Yes.
So here the bottom line of what is being proposed by this committee to the executive committee for consideration here in the next 3 months. According to ChatGPT, and I buy this, I think this is correct. World Sailing's working group is recommending as its first choice, remember the first of 5 packages that they wrote up in that paper, as its first choice for Brisbane 2032, that the 470 mixed dinghy and the NACRA 17 mixed mullio, meaning mixed gender, both stay with their existing equipment, although they did talk about the multi-hull being too expensive and probably making that one design. While Formula Kite, as we know it, is replaced by a new men's and women's kite event equipment. So they're going to change that. And it sounds like they want something more like skateboarding, a graded, rated, judged system in some different kite that's easier to put in one picture on the TV screen. But in addition to kiting and that modified kite event, they want to add men's and women's wing foil. And the chances of that, I think, is more likely, Julia, that you and I will be the king and queen of England.
I'm just thinking about it. If I were trying to determine a world championship, I would pick the world's most popular classes.
Well, exactly, and that's exactly what World Sailing used to do in selecting Olympic classes. And there still is on their regulations, on their books, is that the class had been an international class for X many years, that the class have, and to achieve that, the class is distributed in all 5 major areas of the world and X many countries. There's a whole thing. And when you do that, you get classes that are popular and are active in clubs and in national authorities, and not invent a new class out of whole cloth. Give it to a manufacturer who is going to manufacture the boats, and you end up with a handful of them in certain countries that are supplied at the Olympics, and no one sails the boats otherwise. And that's what's been going on. And it sounds like that's what they want to do again. Why do they do that?
Make money for the boats.
Follow the money. It makes money for World Sailing and for the boat manufacturer, and God knows what goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah, I think that's too bad because, I mean, that doesn't measure anything but what World Sailing thinks.
Well, it's like the 470 class when it went Olympic in 76. So I was sailing a 470 to try to get in. I was sailing a Fireball too because we didn't know which of the 2 classes was going to be in the Olympics. So we're sailing both, and there were lots of you go to the 470 Nationals, and you had Bob and Mary Johnstone, you had kids, you had everybody in sailing. And, the good sailors won, and they went on to the Olympic trials and the good sailors. But you had a lot of them competing. As Luca Devoti said last night in the Super Fozzy chat, He said, how many NACRA 17s are there sailing outside of Olympic training regattas? Do you see any at St. Francis Yacht Club? Do you see any at any other yacht club, at Sandringham Yacht Club? You see them very few, except in these Olympic-specific regattas. Blake Middleton is saying Julia is Queen of Spain. I said Queen of England, but Queen of Spain is totally cool with me.
Okay. I'm okay with that.
Of course, ChatGPT told you what it meant. Who do you think actually wrote it? Now, that's a good point, Clark. Maybe ChatGPT did write a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
Steve Gruber says, replying to Chris Fury without, maybe more would have been better. They might have lost interest after a couple pages and called it good. Well, I honest to God, I will post this on my Facebook page. It's available on the World Sailing website.
Mm-hmm.
And in addition
Yeah.
to these kind of 5 options, they're talking about radical alternatives that they said should be investigated, including, there it is in the lower third, foiling monohulls, team racing, and a mixed keelboat tournament. Like that is like the Star Sailors League,
Mm-hmm.
where you'd supply all the keelboats, and a team would come from a country with a bunch of sailors, and they had to be strict citizenship rule, like the Star Sailors League has become with these 40-foot boats that they're
Mhm.
racing. And again, the chances of foiling monohulls, and we're not talking about the Moth because it's not one design, it's too expensive, too developmental. We're talking about the Wasp or the Switch,
Mm-hmm.
which are one design boats that would be provided that are not widely distributed. There's a few of them around. I don't get it. I really don't get it. I think you're right, Julia. La Reina, Peter Taylor says.
Good heavens.
And the idea that we're going to do team racing, what are these people smoking?
Mm.
It's hard enough to understand team racing among those of us who are keen, active, dare I say it, yacht racers, sailors,
Mm-hmm.
umpire judging, and the team that wins might finish second and third, not first and fourth. Well, they do. I mean, it's unbelievable that we really seriously think about team racing in the Olympics.
Mm.
Now, match racing, which has proven to be a huge success
Oh, yes.
in the Olympics, right?
Yes.
Match racing, what's wrong with that? We've seen that work from 92 until, what was the last one, 2004? And or 2012, in fact, the women's match racing event
Mm-hmm.
in Weymouth in 2012 is widely regarded as the best sailing event in the Olympic sailing event in the modern history of the games,
Yes.
and maybe the entire games. And those soling races, the criticism of the soling for the men, starting in 92, I think it was that it was bifurcated. You sail fleet racing, which, by the way, you had to be a good fleet racer to qualify to go into match racing. I think the top 8 boats went into match racing, or
Mhm.
top 4, whatever it was. And then you had match racing. Well, what's wrong with that?
Yeah.
Easy to understand.
Yep.
Not unlike what SailGP does today. You have fleet races, and it eliminates the 4 boats, which then
Yeah.
do the 4-boat, Elfstrom racing, we used to call that, 3 or 4 boat racing.
Really? Did they do that?
He started a thing called 3-boat, we call it Elfstrom racing, and it was 3-boat final. And it was interesting because it was 3 boats is tactically more interesting than just 2. One boat can take a flyer, and they may be in 3rd place, and you're in 1st place covering the 2nd place boat.
Mm-hmm.
And do you go hedge your bets and start to cover the boat that's gone off, the 3rd place boat that's gone off to take a flyer in one of the corners?
Right.
Or do you split the middle, or you just stay with the 2nd place boat and assume that
Race your own race.
race your own race against the 2nd place boat?
Mhm.
Well, this whole Olympic thing is fraught. There's no question about it. And I'm sure World Sailing and the bureaucrats there are doing the best they can. But they are missing, again, dare I say it, they're missing the boat. Because what it's about is television and celebrating the athletes. And there's no one better to tell us that than Russell Coutts, who gave this interview to the Foil yesterday. I don't know when the interview was, but it got put up on their YouTube channel. And Russell's making the point, Olympic sailing is hard to watch. And he's right.
Mhm.
This was the preview for this video on YouTube, which I'm going to play you the 6-minute YouTube video in a minute. Sir Russell Coutts, SailGP's co-founder and 5-time America's Cup winner, says the sport has an opportunity to reinvent itself. Not sure what he means by that, but warns that sailing risks being dropped from the Olympic Games if it fails to become more compelling to watch.
Mhm.
Speaking to the Foil, that's this new good channel and website.
Mhm.
The Foil, Coutts explains why he thinks Olympic sailing's broadcast coverage isn't good enough, why racing should be brought closer to spectators. Well, a lot of people think we're already too close to the spectators, and why the sport needs to move away from slow, traditional processes. He's not talking about boats. He's talking about umpires, or he's talking about juries, protest decisions, and towards instant decisions on the water. But perhaps the biggest issue is the athletes themselves, or rather how little sailing does to turn them into stars. Now that has been one of Russell's, since all this time I've known him, and we've done a couple of campaigns, the America's Cup campaigns together, and won them. And he has always said, when I was helping do PR and so on, push the athletes forward.
Mhm.
I want to hear from Jimmy Spithill, not Larry Ellison or the Commodore of the Golden Gate Yacht Club,
Mhm.
or even myself, Russell Coutts, or the design team.
Mhm.
Now, some of us argue that that is an inherently interesting thing in the America's Cup because there's so many layers. You got designers, you got rich owners, you got yacht clubs, you got history and tradition, and sailors.
Mhm.
But I think when you're talking about the Olympics, Russell's right. You want to make heroes. We've talked about that on this show ad nauseum.
Mhm.
You want to make heroes out of the sailors. Now, part of the problem is that the Olympic sailing broadcast is done by what's called OBS, not the broadcast software that I use here. OBS is the Olympic Broadcast Service, I think it stands for. They produce the television shows. Now, with the guidance of the world federations, the international federations of the various sports, but if we don't have a really strong television coordinator, a television consultant to OBS who say, no, we can't do that. Because we act like we're afraid of ever countermandering the countermandering, is that a word? Countermandating? Countering the IOC or their television arm. And we can't. We got to say, excuse me, which is what Paul Henderson did when he was president. Excuse me, this is what's best for our beloved sport. Do this, do that, do this. We'll help you do it. Here's Russell Coutts' 6-minute interview on the Foil.
How do you rate the overall health of the sport right now, both at the top level and at the grassroots level?
You know, a lot of sports, traditional sports, don't get the opportunity to almost reinvent themselves, and we've got that opportunity. I think the risk is that we don't make the Olympics compelling enough. I think it'd be a tragedy if sailing gets dropped from the Olympics, and I think that there's a risk of that. And I think it's to me, the sport can be brilliant in terms of making it watchable and still keeping the competitive integrity intact. You can still do all of that and make the sport incredibly compelling to watch. And
What ingredients are missing what's not making it compelling at the moment?
I think the quality of the broadcast isn't good enough. We're not doing enough to promote the athletes and really show the skills that are required to race these boats. It's too hard to understand in its current format. It's not watchable from a spectator perspective. I mean, there's absolutely no reason in my mind why we take our racing so far from shore in the Olympic Games. I mean, a lot of the times, like, it's an onshore breeze and the racing's still taken way offshore. It's bizarre to me. And our, right from most of it is around, the systems around race management, around which is, I'm not saying we don't have brilliant race managers, we do, but a lot of the old processes of, start delays, protest hearings after a race when they, in my view, they should be umpired on the spot and decided on the spot. So that, I mean,
You're showing this in SailGP with the instant decisions that Craig Mitchell and the
you
umpires
basically
do.
have to. And just like any sport, you live with the umpire decisions. They might not be perfect. Who knows? But it's the only way to make the sport watchable. And once you make it watchable, you're going to engage a whole new younger audience. You'll get more young sailors coming into the sailing clubs wanting to do sailing because they see it, they think, oh, that's a pretty cool sport. And it's basic marketing, isn't it, in a way? If you create more visibility for the sport, and you guys are doing a good job for this, create more visibility for the sport, you get more kids engaged. They then want to join. They want to join and have a crack, see whether they like it. Hopefully we create the platform that they can enjoy it, and you just bring more numbers into the sport. If we make it inaccessible, impossible to watch, then it's basically going to shrink. In today's modern world, it's going to shrink.
I don't know if you would agree with me on this, but I tend to think that fans follow the people before they follow the events. You are in your SailGP lane. There's the Olympic lane we've talked about. There's the offshore, and then there's the America's Cup.
There's a process to that, though, isn't there? Like I would venture to say there's no true sailing star at the moment in the sport that's a household name almost anywhere.
That's my point. It's hard for that name to break through because they operate in a diversified or fragmented sport. And when Pete Burling goes offshore and wins the Fastnet race on an old team and then jumps into a SailGP F50 and then does the America's Cup, the fans on Instagram and other channels want to follow the story of Pete Burling as he goes through the sport. Would you agree with that?
Look, I think a lot more has got to be done to promote the athlete. I mean, the first basic is what is that athlete doing over the next 3, 4, 5, 10 years? How are they going to be promoted? What marketing spend and what marketing plan is around that? It doesn't just happen by chance or luck, And that's the point. The sport has never had. Well, first of all, we've never had a platform that I believe that's truly watchable in a sense before. That's starting to change now in various forms, and secondly, we've never viewed that as being particularly important. And in actual fact, as you say, it's absolutely critical. So we start to do those things. Olympic Games, for example, when we currently watch the Olympics, those viewers for the first time, there's no athlete profiles. There's no introduction to who's good at what and why they're good at it. And so the armchair expert that's never sailed before, that's sitting there at home, that might be following Denmark racing for a medal in the Olympics, they really have no idea about what they're watching.
Well, that's the beauty of the games, is that you can support that flag.
You can support the nationality, but it'd be so much better if we had a system, for example, that established who the athletes were, let's say 6 months before the games, and we put a lot into building those profiles. And even if we focused on the various countries that they're representing, you would see an immediate uplift in the viewership straight away.
If you're not subscribed to the Foil, I commend it to you. They're doing, I think, a good job, and they are video as well as a website. And again, you should go subscribe. I like to use their stuff. They've been kind enough to let me use their stuff, and I'll continue to do it and promote it, just like we do Gladwell, just like we do MTM.
Yes.
Magnus the Magnificent. Now, a lot of comments came in, and during that, and Russell, those of you who know him, he's a bit peripatetic. He's kind of all over the map.
Mm.
And I assume he knew that they were going to ask him these questions, and he starts in on one topic and then moves over to another, but his brain is racing ahead. And I think a lot of what he says is spot on. Justin Palm, I'm taking the bottom comment and working up, which so many of you hate that I do that. But
Yes.
it's just a lot easier for me here. Sport needs a long-term vision and strategy before anything substantial, including marketing plans, personalities, can be built out. Justin, who is a marketing, maybe brilliant marketeer. He's a Detroit boy, by the way, Michigander originally, and he's now down in SoCal. Ed Worley, kissing the ring and pleasing the media gods is leading to many of our problems our sport is facing. So stadium sailing is the answer? Peter Taylor, likewise, is Russell's definition of success. Star sailors in SailGP with a full collapse of yacht clubs, not star class sailors, star sailors. I don't know. Surprised that no one can clearly define a holistic vision. So Peter's agreeing, I think, with Justin Palm.
Mhm.
Now, Christiane Price, she's coming from where I come from, Julia. She says, Russell bang on. I think he's spot on. Have a look at what Sail Media put out every weekend with the 18-foot skiffs on Sydney Harbor, which we've been covering extensively here.
Mhm.
Yet we watch triangles freeze on blue screens and trackers. Did the London 2012 games, she did the London, because Olivia the Divya, their daughter, won a silver medal there.
Yeah.
And still doing it. I want to stop there with Christiane's comment because, Julia, I'm not very smart. No, I'm not very smart, but I am a keen observer of the passing scene.
Yes.
I read more in a day than most people do in a week or maybe a month,
That's true.
as you well know. And I do it before 6 o'clock in the morning, between 4 and 6.
Yeah.
And I just am a keen observer of the passing scene, a little bit of a historian. And as I said, I'm not sure I could invent or anyone else could invent the best Olympic event or even a great Olympic event. But what I can do, and what we should as a sport be doing, is going and looking at the things that work
Mhm.
and have worked. And that's what Christiane Price is saying. In Sydney, in those particular boats, 3-person crews with Sail Media, a bunch of guys who are sailors, including our super Fozy, Pedro Foiling Sailor, who's part, Peter Stevenson, and Andrew, Dolly DeVola. Sailors running the broadcast, that is compelling.
Mhm.
Andrew Pindar's made a couple comments that I think he's spot on. Look at what another one of our super Fozy is doing, James Pleasance, with the World Match Racing Tour.
Yes. And I agree with that.
Match
Space.
racing, it's easy to understand.
Yes.
You get crews that you can promote throughout because they've done well in the round robin. And we do a great job of that at the Governor's Cup, if you don't mind my saying, because we start promoting whoever's leading the rounds robin. And then when that team falters a little bit, inevitably, almost always going into the semifinals and the finals, it's great drama.
Yeah.
And after every race at the Governor's Cup, and before every race, it's one of my jobs as kind of the host commentator, is to name all the names on the boat.
And show them.
And, hopefully we get a shot of them and
Yeah.
put some pictures up and so on. So, I think Russell's right on the various elements, but trying to go off and have a grand strategy or having a 64-page document, I think we have to look at the stuff that works. And Andrew Pindar made another point. The Star Sailors League appears, we'll see when the finals happen in December in Rio, it appears to also be working well. We got a lot of teams from a lot of countries, and it looks like that's going to be interesting and fun. Whether it's sustainable financially or not, we shall see. SailGP is not perfect, but it's interesting and it's fun. And Russell can make decisions, and he does on the fly. Not quite. I'm not accusing him of shooting from the hip.
Right.
But you can see him brain going. His brain is wired a megahertz or two faster than most people I know.
Yes.
And he's always thinking about how to make that better for the TV viewer, for the spectator on shore. And what other sport has the kinds of spectators every other month or every month even that SailGP now garners?
Yes.
The broadcast, does it have as many hits? And I don't know, but it's getting way more than the Olympic television. So he's doing something right. And if they'd get rid of Stevie Morrison, so he didn't have that comment. And if we looked at what tennis and golf do, and have that kind of approach, or the sail media guys in Sydney, you don't hear them go, "Whoa, look at this, it's going to be a great port starboard crossing. Oh, the spinner." You don't have that. You don't need it. The pictures tell the words.
Right.
And it's just surplusage. Okay, so there's my rant for the day. And I think a lot of you share those comments. Peter Reckenberg made a great comment. You can't say the man lacks conviction. So we're going to study this. We're going to get a panel together talking with some of the Superfosi over the last few days. But again, if we just go back and look at what works, the 2012 Olympic match racing for the women.
Absolutely.
The Star class, the Finn class.
Yes.
The Sydney Harbor 18s.
Yes.
I don't know. Ted Ryman, spotlighting and promoting the actual sailors, heroic competitors, and making them familiar to the public will raise interest in the racing. The face of F1 are the drivers who are idolized by a huge fan base. Everyone likes a hero. So I think we're all agreeing with Russell and Ted Ryman on that point.
Right.
And Russell's, I think, absolutely right. We got to get to that. Give the Jamaica bobsled team a vote instant. Any other comments? Any other pressing comments on that topic? We'll keep an eye and watch. But again, subscribe to the Foil if you haven't already. Follow the Foil. Follow Richard Gladwell on sail-world.com. Follow Magnus the Magnificent. Buy a subscription. He's working for the America's Cup, so it tends to be America's Cup centric and America's Cup positive when some stuff maybe is not. But still, he's a great writer and covering way more than just the America's Cup on his Rule 69 blog. We've celebrated them, Julia. We're, an hour and 7 minutes into the show today. It's about time for this day in history.
Oh, good.
Your least favorite segment of the show. What happened on this date, 18th of August, 1587?
Oh, gosh, 1587 is Spanish.
Well, look at all the comments still coming in while people noodle this. Stingray up in Seattle, a.k.a. Dogzilla Monster. I'm fine with a fast commentary during the fast racing in SailGP. Steve Gruber, very smart guy as well, replying to Ted Ryman. A lot of people drive cars and can kind of imagine what it might be like to go 300 kilometers per hour. Not that many people know anything about sailing in Seppoland, meaning here in... You know what Seppoland is?
Yes,
that's Cockney rhyming slang. It's what the Aussies call us, the Seppos.
Yes.
Septic tank rhymes with yank.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Seppoland. Gruber's hilarious.
I forget. I knew that very well, but
so back to this day in history, Julia. Gruber saying Magna Carta. No, that was back in 10 something, wasn't it? I reckon the commentators are the key, the solution. I think Peter Reckenberg's got a point here.
Yes. Pete
Shipway and Dolly calling the on-the-water action while Jody Shields makes special comments from the bar.
Well, I mean, that's inclusive.
Well, it is, and that's my point too.
Yeah.
Those guys with Sail Media do such a good job, and sailors and non-sailors alike find it interesting.
Yeah.
They're not talking down to racing sail, dumbing it down.
Yep.
So that racing sailors say, "Oh God, what's this all about?"
Mm-hmm.
But they're not talking over the heads of the non-racing sailors.
Yes.
They are explaining it. And we try to do the same thing in Gov Cup. Yeah, Clark Chapin says Magna Carta was 12:15. And Sailing Team Tally Ho. Thank you, Sailing Team. Good and engaging show. Appreciate that. Well, what happened, Julia? You want a clue?
Yes.
There is a clue. That is a baptism of a young baby, young girl, obviously.
Not obviously.
Well, girl's not obvious, but the young person.
Yeah.
A Virginia Dare. And that's from an 1876 book, even though we're talking about something that happened in 74.
Yeah.
By a gentleman called William Crafts, who was an American. Blake Sale says nothing happened in 1587. Now 1487, the siege of Malaga ends with no. Virginia Dare was born in Virginia. Clark Chapin knows which websites I look at to get this stuff.
Yes.
And that is true, Clark. What happened? And it's way more interesting than just Virginia Dare, because she is the question that begs the bigger question, I guess. On August 18, 1587, Virginia Dare was born. She was the first ever person of English parents to be born in the U.S. or in the colonies, now this even pre-colonies, and as such would have commanded great interest in her life and times, going on to generate intense public attention, probably inspiring magazine and newspaper articles, and maybe podcasts, yeah, books.
Yeah.
But what happened? Unfortunately, nothing is known about her. Why? That's because Virginia and the entire colony she belonged to vanished from the place where they had settled in, which is now North Carolina.
Oh, yeah.
And despite investigation, speculation, and research for over the past 430 years, no firm evidence has emerged about what happened to Virginia and the 107 people in her group of colonists.
Wow.
They simply disappeared without a trace. Inexplicably,
Yes, thank you.
there were no signs of a struggle, no burned houses, no bodies, nada de nada, as the Spanish would say. The only sign that anyone had been there was the word Croatoan.
As in crouton.
It's not to be confused with crouton, but all that that obviously did come to mind. Croatoan. I asked the spell checker to tell me how to pronounce it. Carved into a post, Croatoan, and the letter CRO carved into a tree where these people were all living. These clues later led to the belief that the colony had decided to move to Croatoan Island, now known as Hatteras Island in North Carolina. But they were not there either. So, Julie, you'd be disappointed.
Well,
You'd
yes.
think poorly of me
If you didn't know.
if I didn't have a video.
Yes.
I don't have the answer, but I do have a video.
Oh, I want the answer.
What if an
too.
entire colony disappeared without leaving a single clear explanation? In 1587, more than 100 English settlers arrived on Roanoke Island, hoping to build a permanent settlement in the New World. But their governor, John White, eventually returned to England for supplies. When he came back years later, the settlement was almost completely deserted. The houses were empty. The colonists were gone. There was no clear sign of a battle and no confirmed explanation of where everyone had gone. The only major clue was a mysterious word carved into a tree, croton. Some historians believe the settlers may have joined nearby indigenous communities. Others suggest they could have moved elsewhere in search of food and safety. But no explanation has ever been proven completely, and that is why Roanoke remains one of America's greatest historical mysteries. Sometimes, history leaves questions instead of answers.
Well, and the answer is that I forget the gentleman's name, who was the governor of the colony, and they tried to set up a couple times colonies in that part of the mid-Atlantic.
Yeah.
And it failed ultimately, but they were running low on supplies. They're having problems with some of the native, the Indians, the Native Americans. So he went back to England to bring supplies. And when he got back, they were gone.
Yeah.
There was nobody there. And they still don't really know, despite research. UFOs were clearly real back in 1587. So it was on this date, August 18, 1587, the first European was born in the USA, or what would become the US of A. Did that have anything to do with the water or with yacht racing or sailing? Yes, it did, because they were going back and forth on the water from England. Okay, Julia. John White was the governor. Thank you, Blake Middleton. As long as you're talking about pool experiences, I'm not quite sure there's a back and forth between Gruber and Ryman. Julia, this is about the America's Cup, and I have very little to say about the Cup because, frankly, it's not very interesting with what's going on. Most people at most clubs, as you heard the gentleman say, Simon Fry say at Cows Week, and we've run that video I won't do it again, a couple times. And I still think that the Attorney General and possibly the courts in the state of New York are going to intervene on some basis.
They must have some idea that it'll have a great impact on what's going on now.
One never knows. I have no inside information, no clue about what's going on. How, other than John Sweeney's petition or draft, it's really a draft complaint
Yeah.
that he has sent to the AG. We'll see what happens. But the America's Cup is almost in abeyance. It just, the information that's coming out is so...
Except Naples is getting ready for a party.
Well, in 2 weeks' time, right? This big regatta.
Yeah.
Whatever the date is. But I thought this photo, I think this is a Gladwell photo. I'm not sure who took this. But it's obviously from Auckland. And the Kiwis are down there sailing in their beautifully modified, remodeled AC-75 with the batteries and the crew down to 5 and yada, yada.
Mm-hmm.
Juxtaposed against Rainbow, one of those. In fact, our super Fozy Hamish Ross and Brad Butterworth and others own that boat.
Yes.
And that boat, A7, I think represents the other America's Cup challengers, other America's Cup teams. And the Kiwis are going to run circles around them. Everyone is starting to ask, not just us, we've been asking it for months, can anyone beat the Kiwis?
Mm.
And I don't see how the Americans, who are they're not a dollar short, but they're certainly a day late. They've got a great sailing team. Maybe they'll come up with something and surprise us. I hope so.
Yes.
I hope so. But there's going to be a lot of, as we say in Michigan, dam to go over the water, not water over the dam to go over the water before any of this happens. The Aussies have just had their bow built in Australia, and it's being fitted to their boat, which is in New Zealand, and that fitting is being done in New Zealand, as I understand it. You've got the Alinghi who have given an interview saying, we really don't have a shot this time. We're trying for the next time. And the Americans have said almost as much. The French have got all sorts of problems. And even Luna Rossa seems to have dialed back. Or maybe it's just because it's August in Europe and, how everybody goes on vacation in Europe in August. One never knows. I like Rainbow on starboard tack far better. Yeah, but the point is, it doesn't matter what tack you're on. You're going to be sailing circles if you're Team New Zealand around the other one. And I show you this from they're training. They're the only team that's training, and they've been training not quite nonstop because you only have periods in which it's under the protocol you can train. But look at what they did the other day from the recon out there in the so-called paddock between Auckland and out to the east.
Mm-hmm.
And look at that. They're going up and down and back and forth, and it's sailing back and then doing a loop-de-loop probably when they're taking the main down or something. But nonetheless, these folks are serious, and they're gaining knowledge, gaining understanding, fixing when the boat, inevitably, these boats are highly complex, but even if you go out in your Sunfish or your Opti the first time, you're going to have things you're going to have to come back and fix. It's just, they're just the way it is, and especially in a boat that is so complex. I don't see how anyone's going to beat the Kiwis. I think this whole thing continues to be a mess, and I think ACP, Julia, is a bigger mess.
Yes, how hard they get out of
I
that.
don't see how they're going to do it because they admit themselves that they got to amend the deed, and the deed is not going to be amended.
Yes.
I guarantee you that, because it's just so difficult to amend the deed that is operating, that is practicable under New York law. And the Cup's been working fine for 175 years. So what's the point? I don't know. The New Zealand AC-75 with the Australian bow, clear violation of the CIC, the Construction and Country provisions of the deed. That's at Worley. Well, that's the Cup report for today. And I'm sorry, but I think they're absolutely Croutonic. Now, something that is not Croutonic, and I'm happy to talk about, is this club, the Amala Yacht Club, which is newly formed, newly founded on the Red Sea in Saudi Arabia, and will be the venue for the World Match Racing Tour Finals. And it'll be a double. Both the men and the women will be sailing there at the Amala Yacht Club in J7.
Oh, that'll be great.
And the press release just came out today. James Pleasant, thank you for sending it to me. The World Match Racing Tour makes its Saudi Arabian debut this November with Amala Yacht Club, set to host the 2026 World Match Racing Tour Finals and the Women's World Match Racing Tour Final event. Located on Saudi Arabia's northwestern Red Sea coast, this could be a big resort area. It already is becoming that. Amala Yacht Club will provide a spectacular new stage for the world's leading match racers with pristine waters and reliable trade winds, creating exceptional conditions for racing. This is the James Pleasant's press release of today. The finals mark another milestone in the development of international sailing in the region, fair enough, and forms part of the club's wider ambition to establish Amala and the Red Sea as a leading destination for yachting, combining elite competition with opportunities to grow local participation in the sport. 2 quotes, one from James himself, who's, of course, the executive director of the tour. This is a milestone year for the tour. Not only is it the first time both World Match Racing Tours will be hosted together, but I'm particularly proud of our shared vision and achievement with Amala in announcing the first ever 100% equal prize money.
Yay!
Across the open event, which is the men's event, but women can sail in it and do, and the women's event, which is restricted to people of the XX persuasion.
Thank you.
Did you see that? Some people who were protesting at the women's NBA, the WNBA.
Oh, yeah.
They wore T-shirts in about XX and XY because that, it's so simple. XX people say, and 90%, at least in this country, 80% of the people agree. XX people should sail in women's events, and everybody can sail in open events, if that's what it is, or XY. So that was James's quote. Adrian Peet, general manager of Amala Yacht Club, added, quote, "We're excited." Adrian Peet, good man. I think it's a man. We're excited to welcome the World Match Racing Tour to Saudi Arabia for the first time this November. Hosting the finals is an important milestone for Amala Yacht Club. Not only does it demonstrate the club's commitment to the sport, but it is also evidence of our ambition to support the growth of sailing in the region and establish the Red Sea as the leading destination for yachting. Notice they didn't say sailing.
Yes.
They said yachting.
Yes.
And again, I assert that clubs and sponsors, and not everybody, not all sailors, not all athletes, but I think Rolex and most of our sponsors and most of the people, affluent people we got to admit it, the sport attracts affluent people. And the sport of yachting is what people like to call it, or yacht racing.
The other thing that we have to air is that not everyone who sails on a yacht is a millionaire.
Well, for sure. We got to make those points all the time.
Yes.
Right?
In fact, if you have nothing and you're talented, you're welcome on board.
No, I think that's fair too. So I think this is great that James has done this. I asked him this morning, Julia, what is the situation, if he knows, about SailGP, who also have events scheduled in the Middle East here at the end of the season.
Yeah.
He says, as far as he knows, no decision has been made, but he and the tour and the Amala Yacht Club are all satisfied that this is going to work just fine, notwithstanding the continuing conflict.
Yes.
Greg Norman, hello, Greg, saying World Match is here in Detroit this weekend, but only one sailor in the top 25 will be competing. If this aspect of the sport is expected to grow, they need to send more star power. Lance Burke here at St. Francis made a couple interesting comments up above. Yachting requires more gin and tonic than sailing. You should talk. We featured red wine, Lance, at the top of this show, Pinot Noir, and you know his affection for Pinot Noir. You probably don't remember, but a lot of the people on here will remember, I think, during the 83 or 87 America's Cup, there was a parody magazine published called, Yachting Magazine had been the big deal for a long time, still is a bit of a deal, although it's more power boating now than it is sailing. And Elizabeth Meyer and some others put out a parody of Yachting magazine and called it Yachting, YAAACHTING, Yachting. And it was a parody of the America's Cup and everything else that's going. It was hilarious. And it,
I didn't see that.
Well, I wonder if Lance has a copy. There's still probably some copies of that around. Okay, so back on this thing in the Middle East and Saudi Arabia, these guys are going to be there. These are the defending World Match Racing Tour champions, Ian Williams, with Jerry Mitchell, Richard Sydenham, and John Gunderson, or so James tells me this morning. And the ladies who won, those guys won in China. Talking about these events being in separate places. The women's was hosted, you recognize that club, right? It's the Royal Bermuda. And the women won their match racing tour finals there. Oops, I got the wrong lower third on that. Same one as the previous one, but that is obviously Pauline Courtois and her crew at the Royal Bermuda. Back to this club. I just want to tell you some more about it because I think we will be hearing a lot about it going forward.
It's a gorgeous building.
Do you like it?
Yeah.
Well, and there's quite an area being built up. Oh, you can see the desert behind it, but there's quite an area being built up as a recreational area. And let's all hope it works and that the Middle East becomes a huge and successful economic center, more than just the Dubai airport and the oil fields of a couple of those countries. Royal Bermuda. I'll bet Peggy Comfort was part of that yachting parody, Commodore Harrington is saying. Could be. Could be. So this club, I think we're going to be hearing a lot about it, is a new international hub for luxury yachting within Amala, Amala being the area, the ultra-luxury wellness destination in the protected Prince Mohammed bin Salman Royal Reserve, combining world-class marina infrastructure and contemporary design and exceptional hospitality. Amala Yacht Club serves as a gateway to the Red Sea, one of the world's most unexplored cruising grounds. There's an interesting comment. The 119-berth marina is set to open in autumn 2026. It accommodates super yachts of more than 100 meters and offers a full international port of entry. Situated approximately 200 nautical miles south of the Suez Canal, Amala Yacht Club is ideally positioned for vessels looking to explore waters beyond the Med and the Caribbean, while also providing an attractive winter base for both private and charter yachts, Julia.
Undoubtedly true.
Now, all of this thanks to the executive director and our super Fozy, James Pleasance.
Yes, indeed. He's done a great job.
He has indeed. And those are the boats behind him are the J70s, not the J70s, but those are the boats that are being used for both the women's and open events at the World Match Racing Tour Finals in Saudi Arabia. Julia, I'm going to, one more thing about yachting versus sailing.
Okay.
I'm not very smart, as I previously asserted. And
Thou dost protest too much.
I'm just a simple country boy who follows the passing scene as a bit of a historian, as I said.
All right.
And since we renamed the sport, remember in the Olympics, it used to be yachting or yacht racing. We renamed it sailing, and we've gone like this. When U.S. Yacht Racing Union renamed itself I was no longer executive director, but I protested and said, why are we doing this?
Yes.
Well, we're doing it because we're going to get more public money to community sailing centers. We're going to get more sponsors who want to sponsor sailing, not yachting. And what's happened? That.
No longer prestigious.
It's the prestige has gone away. Now, would we have tumbled even further if we were yachting or continue to be yachting? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't think so. World Sailing used to be the International Yacht Racing Union. Now, what is the most arguably successful NGB, national governing body, in Olympics and in other aspects of our sport? What country? You talked about it earlier in their national lottery.
Oh, England.
Great Britain.
Yeah.
What's the name of their federation?
I don't know.
And it's the same as it's been since
Yeah.
forever. The Royal
Oh, the Royal.
Witches, you know.
Yeah, right.
Why don't they drop the Royal?
Couldn't do that.
Exactly. It's the Royal Yachting Association.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of these clubs and NGBs around the
Yes.
world
Yes.
use yachting because of the Dutch word small craft. And
Right.
Okay. I've ranted on that twice now here in the show,
Well,
and I was not planning to do that.
But it's true, and we should remember that as we go on.
I'll avoid the comment by Dogzilla Monster, funny as it is. Margarita Marshall, who is following this case in New York, she probably knows more about it than I.
Mm-hmm.
And Royal Bermuda, was there any other comments that we wanted to? Okay, we're over 100 messages, which is no surprise given what we do here, and we're over an hour and a half into this show, so it's time, Julia, for the final leg
What a good idea.
with Scott Joplin and the Commodore Harrington.
That's such happy music.
This weekend is the SailGP in Sassnitz. Have you been to Sassnitz in Germany?
You know what? I haven't.
I haven't either, with your late great husband and German shipping captain. Sassnitz this weekend, 22nd, 23rd, the Rockwell German SailGP, and this is the second time that it will be in Sassnitz.
I was just surprised that it was so successful, and it was.
Well, it had good weather. They had a fair number of people watching it last year. And it's actually not bad's the wrong word. It's conveniently located. If you look here, and this is Sassnitz out here on this island. What's the name of the island? It's called Rügen Island. And, you know, it's not too far from Berlin. It's not too far from Lübeck, which is this big town. It's not too far from Hamburg, which is down here on the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And Flensburg, which is over here on the border with Denmark. And it's
Copenhagen.
and Copenhagen as well.
Wow.
You know, you can come across, there's ferry docks.
Yeah.
Ferries that run from Copenhagen and I guess Malmo, I don't know for sure Copenhagen.
Mm-hmm.
So it's fairly well located. Rockwell, which is I guess a Danish company, is sponsoring this. Hence the name, Rockwell German GP, SailGP. It's on the Baltic Sea. It's a holiday resort, so they have nice hotels and they have nice beaches and they have those famous chalk cliffs. Sassnitz is a well-known seaside resort and port town. I have argued for years that our sport does better in resorts, seaside ports on islands. This is on an island.
Yes.
Whether it's Newport, whether it's Australia, whether it's New Zealand, whether it's Bermuda, and we could go talk about others. It's for some reason our sport does well on islands. Cows.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Isle of Wight. Sassnitz is a well-known seaside resort and port town and is a gateway to the nearby Jasmine National Park with its unique chalk cliffs. The decommissioned British submarine HMS Otis was purchased by a German entrepreneur and towed to Sassnitz to be a floating museum.
Mm-hmm.
The Sassnitz area is most popular for its famous chalk rocks. Kreidefelsen, which inspired artists like Caspar David Friedrich.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the famous chalk cliffs there in the lower right corner of what is a beautiful corner of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe, and if anybody knows better, I believe this is where the stadia, the grandstands are being erected, and then they will race out here right off the shore, and the normal breeze is on shore. So as Russell said in that earlier interview, why do we run racing out particularly with an onshore breeze out to sea?
Mm.
And this was a good event, as you said last year. Here is the situation looking to the southeast, and you have the normal racetrack. You have bring your own boat area. They're commending that. They are making it clear you can do that. And then they've got the grandstands there in the area, I believe, that I pointed out. Now, that is from August 16, 17, 20, 25, but I haven't been able to find a map for this year, but I believe it's the same. I'm reliably informed it is the same. I've checked the weather, and on Saturday at 1 p.m., they're expecting nice, 70-degree Fahrenheit, más o menos, 20 degrees Celsius, isn't that? 19. And 16-mile-an-hour winds out of the west between 1 and 4. The racing is at 2. On Sunday, partly cloudy again, same temps. And that is going to be 13 miles per hour. I use knots, but you all know it's about the same. 13 on Saturday and 12 on Sunday, so perhaps a touch lighter. That's a little far out, but 6 days out. We need Lance Burke here to do the weather for us. I want to tell you a little bit about this. So there's not a lot of promotion other than an article about this event, and it's, Monday, Tuesday, and I haven't been able to find anything. This is their latest video that they put out, and it's about what? Crashes. Have a look.
It is France on the inside and the Swiss just off to their right. And look at the speeds already at 90 kilometers an hour.
Oh, best seat in the house on board.
Oh, France!
That was so close. Oh, the French have really put it in the water there. Unbelievable scenes. We're going to have to come back and see what happened. What a moment.
Yeah, I never checked like this on a boat before, but yeah, it was super violent. Yeah, it was, I would not say it was a good experience, but yeah.
Oh my word, it's a big incident.
Problems,
here.
big problems.
Oh, no, and there's a massive incident on board the Brazilian boat. That was a big moment.
Mubutla, Brazil on the outside, an absolute catastrophe for them.
Very frustrating. It's really important that everybody is safe and fortunately without a scratch.
Oh, no. Big incident here in the United States. They've lost the bow of the boat.
A big apology to GBR. Obviously a big mistake and very costly, for both teams, and big apology to my team, and yeah, a misjudgment.
Down 5, down 5, down 10. Oh. They're not doing anything. They're not doing anything. Head up. Keep going. No. Keep going. No, we can't. No, we cannot. It's through the hull. We're out.
So that's what they're using to promote. That's their current video, just out in the last couple days. And obviously, Russell, maybe what we should have in the Olympics is crash and burn. Maybe we should have collisions and boats coming apart and parts flying in the air and rigs coming down on a regular basis.
And regular tests of everybody's muscles at the end.
Well, and then Julie, we could have, you can reach for your cough switch. There you go. And then we could have Stevie Morrison being the commentator. Oh, yes. Look at that. We got this excitement going on. Ryman is saying you can't say it's not exciting. Mm-hmm. Okay. Lance, who is a weather expert here in the Bay Area and at St. Francis Yacht Club, says 15 knots, gusts well over 20 Saturday afternoon. Lance, I looked at one weather forecast that said exactly that, and I was wondering if that was out at sea a little bit, because the forecast for up against the shore, I think, and for shoreside was less than 15, 20. In fact, I saw one forecast that said 20 gusting 35. So who knows? A demolition derby, a figure 8 course. That's the... Somebody's going to be seriously injured. That's what I worry about. I think Clark's right. We just don't know when. We don't need that. So that's what's going on this weekend at Sassnitz. That used to be spelled with a B set, a bed. What do you call it? S-A, that German B. And in 93, they got rid of all those, and it's pronounced like a double S. That so-called B set, is that what it was called? I lived in Germany for 10 years. And I don't remember.
I don't know.
It was after they'd gotten rid of those, more or less. Racing starts at 2:00 and ends at. Let me go back to that. Racing starts at 2:00 and ends at 3:30, 15:30 CET, Central European Time, which is 0500 to 0630 here on the west or left coast. S set. Thank you, Lance. That's what that was called. Not a B set, an S set. A couple S's, a set of S's. Okay, Julia, that gets us to Whiskey Tango Foxtrot for today. A little bit different approach to Whiskey Tango Foxtrot today, too. We've been talking about the Olympics. We've been talking about marathons, this race that just has gone around the Isle of, the Great British Isles.
Right.
So I thought we should run something about the longest marathon that ever took place. And it took place here. And I ask you the question, what was the longest marathon race time, the time, not the distance, the longest race time in history? Any idea? Well, you'd be disappointed. Again, you'd think poorly of me if I did not have a video.
In 1912, Japan sent its very first Olympian to Stockholm. He vanished during the marathon. Sweden listed him as missing for the next 50 years. Shizo Kanekuri was 20 years old and had run an unofficial world best time to earn his place. Getting to the Games took him 18 days by steamship and the Trans-Siberian Railway. He arrived exhausted in a country whose food he couldn't eat and whose language he couldn't read. And then, race day brought a 90-degree heatwave almost unheard of in Sweden. Of 68 starters, 32 collapsed and quit. One runner died. Near the halfway mark, dehydrated and fading, Kanekuri staggered off the course and into the garden of a Swedish family who took him in and gave him juice. He lay down to rest, fell asleep, and woke the next morning to find the race long over. Too ashamed to face the officials, he boarded a ship and sailed home without telling anyone. Swedish authorities, with no record of him finishing or withdrawing, filed him as a missing person. He was never lost. He ran 2 more Olympics, founded the Hakone Ekiden Relay, and became known across Japan as the father of the marathon. Completely unaware that in Sweden he had become a national mystery. In 1967, Swedish television tracked down the 75-year-old and flew him back to Stockholm to finish what he'd started. He jogged across the line in a suit. Official time, 54 years, 8 months, 6 days, 5 hours, 32 minutes, 20.3 seconds.
That's a lovely
The
story.
slowest marathon in recorded history. Asked how it felt, he smiled. It was a long trip. Along the way, I got married, had 6 children and 10 grandchildren.
Isn't that fantastic?
Yes,
Huh?
it is.
So I, before we go on with these other cartoons, marathon has not changed in all these years. I mean, a couple thousand years. Certainly not in the last. The Olympics been going on for 140 years.
Yeah.
Since 1896. Tennis has not changed. The rackets have gone from wood to carbon, aluminum to carbon. Golf, the shafts have changed a little bit, but they still play 18 holes and it's par whatever it is. And they play 54 for the main tournaments. Tennis, they play 5 sets for the Grand Slams and 3 sets for the others, but it's a set. The scoring's the same. Everything is the same.
Yes.
And we can talk about the NFL. Yeah, they've changed the kickoff system a little bit. We can talk about soccer. They've barely changed anything in footy and football, soccer. and we keep changing things, looking.
We have to.
For and what we need to do, I agree with Coutts, what we need to do, Cooter as we used to call him, is to celebrate athletes, first and foremost. And that kind of a story, there's all sorts of stories like that in our sport. Now, okay, not a guy that's, gone missing for 54 years, but those kinds of stories, the things Jimmy Spithill had to put up with when he was trying to, with slippery Sid Fisher, and when he was 19 or 20 years old, and I met him in Auckland in 2000. That's what we need to focus on, not keep changing the sport. We've got a great sport, and we've got the star class, we've got the Finn class, we've got some other interesting things now, and provided they're widely dispersed. Okay, I go on for the second or third time today. Well, someone ordered something. Someone ordered something. You think there's a Trojan horse in there, Julia?
Of course.
Peter Taylor sent that. Clean, huh? This is for Jordi and anybody else. Fun fact, if you take your whiskey in a teacup and you blow on it, people think you're drinking tea. Wouldn't that be fun to go to the yacht club bar, order a whiskey and a teacup or a coffee cup, and then blow on it?
Yes.
That came from several foes. I don't know, that follow one of these joke things. But here's one for us, Julia. I'd like to thank whomever told my mom that WTF means wow. That's fantastic. Her texts are so much more fun now. Would you text me? Would you text? You text WTF and I'll know you. Wow, that's fantastic.
That's great.
That came from Stevenson, from Pedro Foiling sailor Peter Stevenson down in Australia. And we like to wrap up with Blake Middleton, rather, his All the Smartest People Sail with Albert Einstein, who was a sailor. And another smart guy who's my dad, age 93, looks pretty good for a 93-year-old.
Yep.
Tom Sr., who likes to likes to say sailing isn't for everybody, but it is for anybody. Julia, which gets us, my dad, you've met him several times.
Yes.
Gets us to the finish line where you like to say,
yes, do not fail to like and follow and share because it helps.
Does indeed. And comments are welcome, even in replay. We appreciate all of you who contribute a little bit to help keep us on the air. Our studio is forever upgrading bit by bit, incrementally, and we have to pay our streaming fees. And that's what we use your contributions for exclusively, to help keep us on the air. Patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated. Thank you very much to all of you who do give us a few bucks or more a month. Thanks also to the people who gave us audio, video, and images for today's show. Julia, final thoughts?
I look forward to the fall and the rest of the new sailing season.
Well, yeah, we get out of our Northern Hemisphere summer and they start to pick up down in Australia and New Zealand, which is always fun. And we've got the grand finals coming up of WMRT, WWMRT, and of SailGP.
Yes.
We'll see what happens with this America's Cup event in Naples.
Yes, there's lots of
going
on.
Thanks, Blake, to you and everybody else who's helping us. We appreciate it very, very much. And thanks, Joe Holtzman. Tom Pace, Commodore Pace, past Commodore of the Pensacola Yacht Club, says, that's the cup I used at our board meeting. That teacup, keep them guessing.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody. We hope you have a great rest of your week. We hope to see you on Friday. We'll be here, God and the internet willing. In the meantime, sail fast, sail safe, and have fun. Ciao for now.